Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my very first series all about the fundamentals of music theory. As you all know, music theory is invaluable to understanding your music, remembering your music, and most importantly, empowering you as a better musician and pianist overall. In this series, we're going to cover the basics to more advanced topics of music theory. This lesson will be talking about half steps, whole steps, how we can create a major scale, and a little bit of an introduction to chord theory. Let me know what you guys think about in the comments about this lesson. Please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the lesson. I'm gonna assume that everybody is an absolute beginner just for the sake of this series. So to begin, the piano is composed of white keys and black keys, and the black keys are organized into two groups, groups of 2 and groups of 3. Here they are, the two groups. 2 black keys, and then this one is the 3 black keys. Now, the range of notes that we have go from A to G, but most commonly we start right in the middle of the piano, which is called middle C. So we have C to the left of the 2 black keys, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. And those repeat throughout the entirety of the piano. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. All right, let's talk about the difference between half steps and whole steps. This is really important because this information is going to translate how we soon begin building scales and building chords. So pay attention to this. All right, so the closest note to another note is called a half step. And did you notice I tapped on a black key? So when I went up to that black key, I created a sharp. So when I go up to the right, I get C sharp. And when I go up to the right on D, I get D sharp. Now when I go to the left, I get flats. It's kind of like when your tire goes flat, it goes down. So you're going to go down. So let's start from maybe like E. E flat, D flat, C flat. Now notice that C flat was a white key. It doesn't always have to be a black key for this whole sharps and flats thing. Remember, a half step is the closest note to the other note. Now also notice that D flat and C sharp are the exact same thing, and that's called enharmonic, but you don't need to be familiar with all that. Just know sharps to the right, flats to the left. Now this is really important, this idea of the half step, because this is where we're going to start building these scales. So this right here is a half step, and 2 halves create a whole step. So if I have this one and this one, then I have a whole step. If I have this one and this one, I have a whole step. Music theory is not complicated. It's just half steps and whole steps. Now we're gonna do something crazy with these half steps and whole steps. We're gonna combine them in a very specific order and create something called a major scale, or basically a formula for every single major scale ever possible. And it's called whole, whole, half, Did you see how I created that? This is a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Making sense? Let's try it on a D, right? So we have a D, we do the same thing, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And there we go, we just created a D major scale. So this whole, half, whole, half, right? This pattern is for every single major scale. So it doesn't matter what note you pick on the piano. It could be F sharp, it could be D, it could be C, any note on the piano. As long as you apply this formula of half steps and whole steps, you got yourself a major scale. There are lots of different types of scales and lots of different combination of whole steps and half steps. For example, you have the minor scale and they have a different combination of whole steps and half steps, but we're not going to get into that right now. I just wanted to go through the basics real quick. Now, the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to build some chords on top of this scale. So it's really cool. I'm going to start with the C major scale. So we have this, right? C, Now look at this. Before we get into chord theory, I'm going to show you a really easy way to apply what you've learned about whole steps and half steps and scales and all that in a very easy way. We'll talk about chords next week, but let me just introduce this right here. Take a look at the first note of the scale. And I want you to skip twice using the tones of the scale, okay? Now for C major, that's going to be all the white keys. So make sure you skip twice. This is called the 1 chord because it starts on scale degree 1, that first note of the scale. Take it up to the scale degree 2 and skip twice again. This is the 2 chord. Go to scale degree 3, skip twice. 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1. There we go. Just from a series of half steps, whole steps, creating a scale, skipping twice, we have created 7 different types of chords. 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. Now, these types of chords have different types of names. So this one is called a major chord. This is a minor chord, a minor chord, a major chord, a major chord, a minor chord, a diminished chord, and a major chord. Stay tuned for the next lesson to discover how I created these types of chords and what their qualities mean, such as major, minor, diminished, and all the others. Thanks so much for watching this lesson. I hope you guys learned something. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in lesson 2 all about chord theory.